Where do I begin with this video? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I have been teasing this video for what feels like forever, but it's finally here, and today I'm going to talk about the reasons as to why me and my boyfriend Chris decided to move out of our really nice looking modern flat and into our new one, which is where I currently am. So honestly, there are so many reasons as to why we chose to move out, and I've made a list so I don't forget, but I'm just going to talk about the main issues. Honestly, the main issues were the neighbours. I feel like a lot of issues when it comes to renting in London are neighbour based, just because you never know who you're going to live next to. So the building was made up of 6 flats, 6 flats, 2 on each level, and we were the middle level. So originally we had no one living above us for a good like 8 or 9 months. So we moved in around this time last year, like November last year, and then a young family moved in above us in August this year, but I'm going to come back to that because that was a lot later on. When we first came to view the property, we absolutely loved it, and it was literally the first property we saw, and we were like, yes, let's live here, without really having known what we were getting ourselves in for. Did I think that the estate agents knew? Hard to say. I believe that they did. I mean, once we've moved out, they fully well know what's going on now. Like, just putting that out there, and they know how we felt about living there. So yeah, the main issue were the neighbours that we had next to us and the neighbours that we had downstairs. There were I think there were 2 guys, there could have been 3 guys living next to us, not really sure. And they maybe were like late 20s, one was probably early 30s, and he was a postman, so he would usually get up quite early and like leave, go to work, and be back by about 3 o'clock. And I'm not sure the other one even had a job, if I'm being 100% honest. They would play loud, like really ridiculously loud music every single day, and I'm not even exaggerating when I mean every single day. And it got to the point where, like, if I wasn't working, so I work freelance, I work in the film and TV industry, so I'm not always working because it depends on what days I'm filming and when I can get work, etc. More often than not, I was in the flat, and it got to the point where I hated being there just because I could hear their loud music, and it wasn't even just the music, I could feel the bass wherever I was in the property. So if you've seen my empty flat tour of the old property, I'll leave a link if you want to go check that out. The wall that they were connected to was the one of the study, well, the one that we used as the study, which is the second smaller bedroom, and then that was then attached to their flat. And it wasn't just that room that we could hear music, like it went everywhere. Like I could be sleeping in my bed and I could feel the bass like moving the mattress. That's how bad it was. That paired with the guy downstairs who wasn't even below us, he was below the guys next to us. It's getting me angry just thinking about it. He purchased a massive speaker like halfway through us living there. Like it was bad enough when we could hear their music like next to us, but when he got that speaker, everything was just 10 times worse. I could feel the bass literally everywhere. You can hear it from the bedroom. In fact, we can hear over there as well, them lot.
Are they doing stuff as well?
It's 2 different songs. Then his speaker got stolen, and I was so happy thinking he wouldn't get it back, but he did get it back, and then it all started. But there was like 2 weeks where we had no issues from him, and it was like wonderful. But yeah, so loud music coming from downstairs and next to us was a huge factor into why we moved. The guys next door were like quite nice. We spoke to them regularly if we saw them in the hallway, etc. But they played music really, really loudly, and I was a little bit scared to ask them to turn it down just because the guys next to us were quite like muscly, and then the guy downstairs was crazy, which is a nice little segue onto the next reason as to why we moved. This man, I don't even know where to start with him, honestly. He had a fairly large dog. I'm not sure the breed, but it was a really large dog. The dog was really, really friendly, but he was definitely mistreating this poor dog. And after about a month of living in the property, so we moved in November, and then midway through December, me and my boyfriend both went back to our houses, like with our family, to spend Christmas time with them. So we were out our flat for a couple of weeks, and then when we got back in January, oh my goodness me, he got arrested. Right, so when we first moved in, this is a bit of a jumble, but when we first moved in, the police were called to his property like 3 times in the first week that we lived there. Yeah, and then in January, he literally had a standoff with the police, to the point where the police who had been called to the flat had like riot shields and tasers and guns, all pointing to like the main doorway for our property, and he was stood on the other side of this door. And I was just like, if I can find the footage, I will insert it, because I was like filming it. Oh my god, guys, I'm not kidding, right? 2 police vans have pulled up outside. This woman down here's got a taser. I'm actually so scared. What the hell's going on? We have a crazy guy who lives downstairs, and I'm generally quite concerned about my safety right now. He's been shouting all evening about stuff, and now they've got tasers and batons and shields and shit, and I'm quite scared. And like all the other policemen are like backed off over there. There's another police car just down there, so there's actually 3 police vans. But I was so scared, like something bad was gonna happen. He eventually got arrested, and he was really upset for his dog. He was like, someone needs to look after my dog, someone needs to feed my dog. But he was definitely mistreating that poor animal. He would like definitely hit it, we could hear it, and like he would shout at it, and it was just, I feel really bad, and we probably should have reported him to animal cruelty services. But honestly, he was so scary that I didn't want to get involved. So that was one of the issues that he had. Another issue was that his flat was so disgusting. So he definitely didn't have a job. He would like go outside and like walk his dog in like the little green area where our flat was, and then just leave his flat door open. So every time if I was leaving the building, I would walk past his flat, the smell that was coming out, and like I would take quick glances just to see what it looked like, and there was like mold everywhere, there was mess everywhere. Honestly, I think there was a lot of dog poo. It was like he didn't clean up after his pet. It was so disgusting, to the point where Chris had a conversation with him, and apparently the council are giving him a brand new kitchen because there were maggots and mice living in his cupboards and stuff. Whew, I feel so grim talking about it. Ugh. There was definitely a problem with this guy. He got arrested. He was angry, like he had some anger issues. He would slam the door at like 3 a.m. constantly, every single day. He had like drug dealers coming over to his flat talking to him. He had like people he owed money to, you know, someone stole his speaker. I don't know, it makes me scared thinking about it. He was probably the main issue as to why we left. I didn't feel safe living there, knowing that he was living in the same building as me. And along the lines of also not feeling safe, it got to the point where I felt so unsafe that anytime the buzzer rang, even if I knew it was like Amazon parcels or friends coming to visit, I would like, ooh, I would jump and like feel really scared in case like it was him trying to like complain or like knock down the door or something. I don't know. I was just, yeah, I was pretty scared of him. I did not feel safe living there, and I'm so glad we don't live there anymore. So noisy neighbours next to us, crazy man living downstairs, and feeling very unsafe in the property. are the 3 main reasons as to why we left. The next ones are kind of like just add-ons to that, but I'm going to tell you anyway. About 8 months into where we were living, a young family moved in above us, and I felt so bad for them because I hated where we lived and I felt awful that 2 young children were going to have to go through what we'd gone through. Having 2 young children living above you. Well, they were also loud, so we had loud neighbours from next to us, from below us, and now from above us. They would scream and cry and run around, and it was not a fun time, to say the least. So like I said, the guy downstairs had a very big issue with mould and just dirt and mess in his flat, and I'm pretty sure that mould then spread across the entirety of the building because the hallways had mould in it, our flat had mould in it. Admittedly, like, we probably weren't the best at dealing with the mould in our flat, so we may have made it slightly worse. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna take that on, like, blame on us, but he definitely like contributed to the whole building having mould. So we moved out because it was very unhealthy. Like, where I was sleeping, the whole wall was just like mouldy and damp, and it was probably the reason why I felt quite ill and unwell in that property. Another weird issue we had was flies. Again, it's probably due to the fact that this guy had a really smelly and mouldy and disgusting flat like downstairs, but there was a lot of flies hanging around in the hallway, which then they eventually ended up into our flat. We managed to find out a way how to kill flies. We used to keep little glasses of wine or cider, basically like alcohol, like fruity smelling alcohol mixed with washing up liquid, and then the fruit smell would attract the flies because they were like fruit flies essentially, but we didn't leave any food or anything out, so they would be attracted to the smell and then they would get inside and die. So we literally had these glasses of like dead flies. It sounds so disgusting, but it did get rid of all the flies. So yeah, but the fly situation was not nice. The smell in the hallway was disgusting. Like I said, his flat was just so gross that it went into the whole building. It was horrendous. The location of the property wasn't the best. Like, it was on a really nice quiet road. Besides the noisy, loud neighbours in our actual property, the road was quiet, it was free parking, it was essentially a really good road, just the people inside our building were horrendous. It was a 10-minute walk to the nearest bus stop, which was quite, like, I was fine with that, but the fact that we had to walk through a park, and when it was winter and nighttime, walking through a park at night by yourself as a young woman is not the best thing to do. Like, certainly didn't feel safe again, but it was fine. But I wasn't too fussed about walking 10 minutes to the nearest bus stop, but Chris, on the other hand, did not like that. It was a 25-minute walk to like all the big shops and one of the train stations that I liked going to. I used to enjoy that long walk because it meant I got to get out the flat and do my own thing. And then finally we had the situation that we encountered whilst we were at this property. It was that we got a visit at 5 AM on, I want to say like a Thursday morning or something, from immigration officers. I made a whole other video about this situation, so definitely go check that out. I'll leave a link. But basically we had immigration officers invade our property at 5 AM demanding a search of the flat because they were looking for a previous tenant. That was a very unpleasant experience, even though I can look back and say it was quite funny and it makes a great story, but it definitely didn't help with the horrible flat situation that we were in. Those were like the reasons as to why we decided to move out of the property. We weren't happy, I didn't feel safe, and everyone there was just horrible and loud and I couldn't stand it, and I'm so glad we moved. Also, looking back at that year of my life, I went through a lot of horrible, kind of sad, like really down, sort of depressive but not depressive times. There was a time where I was very much unemployed essentially. Like, I was working freelance, and there was a time in February where I had no work for 2 weeks and I went insane. I didn't have enough money to like get on a bus and like go somewhere. I didn't have money to spend. I was so so sad and lonely and down, and yeah, it was horrible. I definitely had some not so great times living in that flat. I'm so glad that chapter of my life is finished. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification button to find out when I upload. And I'll see you soon for another video. Bye!